Before I begin this video, I want to make a few things clear. I'm an anti-feminist, and I'm happy to take up that label. I'm not against women's rights. I believe that human rights are important regardless of gender. I just happen to see more women's rights in the legal system than men's rights, and even talking about that is almost forbidden. I'm not going to talk about the men's rights advocates in this video. I'm only going to focus on feminism. I might make a video about my thoughts on the MRAs later. Now, I have respect for feminists, as long as those feminists don't deny the problems faced by men. Feminism is the fight for women's rights, as most adults already know, and I accept that position. If you want or need to fight for the rights of just one gender, if you see examples of gender discrimination towards women, then sometimes you want to stand up and fight against it. I'd happily stand up beside you and do whatever I can to help. But I'm not and never will be a feminist. I'm of the opinion, though, that feminism has always been a movement that uses discrimination at its very core. I see it as the root cause of the gender divide, which we, in the colloquially identified Western society, have to deal with today, more than 100 years after feminism began. Feminism has never been about gender equality, and it shouldn't be. It should be about women. I think it could have been a good thing, and it has helped a lot in getting us to the equality that we now have. At this point in the video, I was planning to talk about the claim that feminism got women the right to vote, but I wanted to do a little extra research on that to make sure I wasn't in error. What I found confused me a little. According to the UK comedy game show QI, the first woman who voted did so in 1886. But then I find information about a woman called Lydia Chapin, who is also recognised as the first woman voter, but she died in 1779, so she couldn't have voted in 1886. I've also heard of a woman who had the right to vote for herself and on behalf of her servants, giving her not one, but 4 votes, though I don't remember when or where that happened, or what her identity is. So all I can do now is use the legal right to vote as a basis, which is still a difficult subject to bring up, because each country made votes for women a right at different times, ranging from 1775 in Corsica to 2015 in Saudi Arabia. I'm sure you can see the confusion. I know it's a tiny digression, but the point is, I can't find any hard evidence that feminism was responsible for getting women the right to vote. It looks more like women had the right to vote even before it was written into law, which is the same as men, by the way. Maybe women specifically got pushed out of that right. I can't be sure. What I think is more likely is that feminism drew attention to the inequality of voting rights, but they could never have done so alone. The society that they lived in at the time had to have come to some agreement with them and allowed it to pass, which I think is fair, but I don't want to find myself guilty of downplaying the role that feminism had. My problem with feminism isn't about what it has done both for or against society in the past. Yes, feminism is credited for helping make women more equal in the eyes of the law and property rights, among a few, but it's also credited for the white feathered girls of the First World War, giving white feathers to young men who were not in military uniform and calling them cowards if they didn't go to die in ditches in foreign countries. My problem with feminism is what it's doing today, how it reacts to anyone who disagrees with them, or people who make an effort to deal with societal problems that primarily affect men. I think it was just last year that we heard news of a woman in Iran being caned 30 times for standing too close to her boyfriend, while at the same time, feminists in America were complaining about the little emojis on their iPhones, and feminists in Britain were whining about sexist air conditioning. Seriously, if your biggest problem is a silly little picture representing your emotional state of mind or being cold, then you really have nothing to complain about. Now, I would like to point out that no amount of complaining in the West is going to help women or girls living in a country that is not your own. We can encourage these countries to take a step in a direction that we think is better, but we can't force them to do so. The choice has to be theirs. Here's where I have a problem with the so-called third wave feminism. If I try speaking about the rights and issues that men face, third wave feminists will jump down my throat and either deny that there is a problem with men's rights, minimize it by complaining that men are complaining, infantilize men who show their emotions while complaining that men don't show their feelings more, or just outright insulting me for daring to care about men. According to third wave feminists, I'm a misogynist if I'm male, or have internalized misogyny if I'm female. Even the act of questioning feminist opinions, which are vast and rather convoluted, is likely to have these same results. I'm blinded by the patriarchy if I don't see sexism everywhere and in everything I do. But there's more. Here in Britain, we have the Women's Equality Party, and they're granted a place in Parliament. If anyone dared to start up a men's equality party, it would be shut down and declared misogynistic within a month. We have the Scouts too. Girls were permitted into Scouts in the 90s to promote gender diversity, but the Girl Guides are under no obligation to do the same. It's happening everywhere. Wherever boys and men gather to relax and just have fun, offer each other support, or just be men. They're now being forced to become inclusive and allow women and girls to join in. But it's perfectly acceptable for women and girls to start up groups and refuse access to boys and men. It's against the law to start a business that does not include female employees. But it's a good thing when you start up a business that refuses to employ men. It's empowering. Rape and sexual assault is illegal. But wait, if a man rapes a woman, or is even accused of raping a woman, he goes on trial for the actual charge of rape. But if a woman rapes or is accused of rape, she goes on trial for the charge of sexual assault, a crime which is regarded seriously, but not nearly as serious as rape. In the case of domestic violence, the man is assumed to be guilty and the woman is assumed to be the victim, even in the absence of evidence, just on her word alone, because equality. And female victims have shelters that they can go to, government funded, but men don't. Breaking away from legalities, I'll pop for a bit into what happens if I speak about the inequalities that men face. If I speak about the legal rights or lack thereof, the ones I've just mentioned, or in others that I'll have in a video later, then I'm considered by third wave feminists to be a men's rights activist, something which they see as literally Hitler. I accept that feminism is the advocacy of women's rights, and I could even agree with them if they showed me actual evidence, instead of studies that have been debunked, conducted with bias, or are just plain lies. But I do think that if you, the viewer, want to talk about women's rights, you should also allow for groups that deal specifically with discussion about men's rights, without resorting to referring to them as whiny man babies. I would be okay if feminists fought against gender discrimination, if they stopped denying that men are also being discriminated. Sometimes, even in the same way as women. Don't forget that third wave feminists hate sexual objectification of women, but are quite happy to sexually objectify men as long as it gives them that low down tickle. Originally, feminists created the gender divide by making men out to be the bad guy, the perpetrator. In the 60s, feminists widened that divide by making men out to be the oppressor or the rapist. And Bell Hooks' claim that all men are potential rapists is still being used today, literally to teach women to be afraid when they go out alone at night, or to perpetrate the lies of the gender pay gap and rape culture. Quite frankly, it's feminism that has made women afraid of their male friends, fathers, brothers, or some random guy walking down the street who probably didn't even see her because he's too engrossed in his own thoughts and feelings. Likewise, it's feminism that has taught men to be wary of women for fear that they're going to be accused of rape or sexual assault just for the mere crime of glancing at her or talking to her without permission. How do you get permission to talk to someone if you don't talk to them to get the permission? Feminism is not about equality, and it doesn't need to be, as long as it allows for the changes in society. I wouldn't care if someone called me a feminist if they allowed me, or others, to speak about things that are similar to, but don't concern feminist discussions. I wouldn't have a problem with feminism if the most vocal feminists allowed for discussion about it with people who disagree with them. But what we see is the exact opposite of that. Some of the biggest feminist channels on YouTube have comments and ratings disabled. How can you agree or disagree with someone if you can't even ask them questions or give your own opinions? I won't name the biggest offender in that, who blocks people who follow people, even without hearing anything or knowing of the existence of them. You all know who I'm talking about. How can you change your mind about feminism if the feminist you hope will clarify their positions refuses to talk to anyone who disagrees with them, or even just accepts the position of someone else who disagrees with them? One of the strangest things that I've seen is having watched a video where a group of feminists actually gathered to talk about issues that men face in a special channel exclusively to help people talk about the problems faced by men. I want to be able to respect them, but I see in their main channels and in response videos about their actions that they're in favour of accusing opposition of feminism of hate speech, harassment, or flat out bullying. In the United Nations, we have an ambassador for women, but I doubt we'll ever see an ambassador for men because equality. We see politicians celebrating National Women's Day, but refusing to acknowledge National Men's Day because equality. We see celebrities being coerced into calling themselves feminists or running the risks of losing popularity and being demonised if they dare to admit that they enjoy an activity which is considered a gender role because equality. We see the National Organisation for Women, we don't have one for men, giving an award to a woman who was caught lying to courts about being raped, and we're not allowed to object because equality. We also see the dregs of the feminist community openly saying that men should be castrated, incarcerated, or executed, and it's fine because it's free speech, because equality. Our hobbies are under attack by self-proclaimed feminists as well. Video games are sexist, movies are sexist, even marketing ploys are sexist, but only towards women. Apparently, everyone has the right to an opinion, unless they disagree with me. What I think we need to do to make the world a truly equal place is to stop trying to make everyone think exactly the same things or look exactly the same. Maybe if we, as human beings stopped forbidding the differences between each and every person and revelled in the infinite variety of human life, we could also learn to celebrate the individual instead of attacking their position without even knowing where their exact position lies. I might go further with this talking point later, but right now I think the video might be getting rather lengthy and I don't want to bore you anymore. Thanks for watching and I'll see you all next time.